Some memories never leave you. No matter how many years pass, how much therapy you've done, or how far you've come in life, there's always that one moment, that quiet flash from childhood that lingers like a ghost in the background. It might seem small on the surface, a door closing, a birthday missed, a look of disappointment, but it lives on in your nervous system, repeating in the people you attract, in the way you speak to yourself, in the ache you can't name. And here's the question that most people never ask. What if that memory didn't survive by accident? What if it was chosen by your unconscious to follow you for a reason? Carl Jung believed that the psyche does not waste energy preserving random details. If something from your past still echoes inside you, it's not just nostalgia or trauma. It's a message coded in emotion, symbol, and archetype, trying to reach the conscious part of you that's ready to evolve. The moment you can't forget is not just a memory. It's a signpost, a mirror, a spiritual breadcrumb. It contains within it the blueprint of your inner child's deepest need, your core wound, or even your soul's calling. While other moments dissolve, this one survives because it holds the key to something you've been unconsciously circling your entire life. The truth is, your memory doesn't lie. It remembers what your mind tried to bury, and what your ego might dismiss as not a big deal. Your soul knows better. That moment, that look, that silence, it carried the energy of disconnection, of confusion, of being unseen. And until you stop and turn toward it, not with judgment, but with curiosity, it will keep surfacing. It's not here to haunt you, it's here to free you. Because healing does not begin by remembering everything. It begins by remembering what won't let go of you. That's where your story started, that's where the split happened, and that's where the reunion begins. Why do we keep returning to the same inner scene, even when life has moved on? You may be building a new career, parenting your own children, or trying to start fresh in love, but inside, that single moment from childhood plays on repeat. Perhaps it was being left out, not being believed, or hearing words that pierced your worth. And no matter how much you explain it away as just how things were back then, it still lives in your body like it just happened yesterday. This is not about memory in the ordinary sense. This is about emotional time travel. Your mind knows the calendar is flipped, but your nervous system still flinches in that exact moment as if it never ended. The truth is, it didn't, at least not inside you. This is where Carl Jung's teachings invite us to go deeper. Jung believed that the unconscious does not forget what the ego ignores. Instead, it stores these psychic imprints and waits for the moment you are strong enough to face them. These long-lasting memories are not random traumas, but deeply symbolic experiences that act as mythic initiations. They mark the moment a part of you had to split off in order to survive. When love became unsafe, when approval required performance, when being yourself came with punishment, your psyche formed a protective shell. But the memory that won't fade is not the shell. It's the voice inside the shell, still waiting to be heard. And this is what most people miss. The reason it haunts you is that it matters. You didn't choose to carry this moment. It chose you. It fused to your identity, shaped your self-image, and created the lens through which you now see life. It's not just that you remember the time you were blamed unfairly. It's that now you always second-guess yourself. It's not just that you recall being ignored. It's that now you apologize for existing. Can you see how one scene became a whole personality? How did a single moment script your inner dialogue? Jung called this the complex, a bundle of emotional energy tied to an archetypal wound. The memory is just the doorway. The deeper story is what you learned about love, worth, and visibility in that moment. And here's the haunting part. Until that wound is brought into consciousness, you will keep reenacting it. In your relationships, at work, in how you sabotage your own peace. The people you attract are not random. The fears you carry are not a weakness. The patterns you repeat are the memory trying to finish its sentence. Are you willing to finally listen? So, let's ask what no one ever asks. What if the thing you're trying to forget is the very thing trying to awaken you? What if the pain is the proof that this memory is alive with unfinished truth? What if your deepest wound is not a punishment, but an invitation to retrieve the part of you that got left behind? Let us know in the comments what your memory that refuses to be forgotten and what you think it's still trying to tell you. What if the person you think you are today is just the child you had to become to survive yesterday? Think about that for a moment. We all carry an inner storyline about who we are: strong, quiet, independent, helpful, successful, or endlessly understanding. But how many of those traits were chosen freely, and how many were shaped by moments when your childhood self felt unsafe, unseen, or unworthy? In real life, most of us never stop to ask, did I grow into this identity, or did I hide inside it? Very often, what we call personality is simply the version of ourselves that got us through the moments we didn't know how to handle. In Jung's view, childhood does not just teach us memories, it imprints archetypes: the innocent, the orphan, the hero, the caregiver. These are not fairy tale characters. They are psychological identities born from early emotional experiences. A child who was praised for being quiet and good may become the peacekeeper, even when she is screaming inside. A child who was ignored may become the performer or the perfectionist, desperately trying to earn the love that felt out of reach. A child who had to be strong for everyone else may become the strong one forever, even when she is breaking internally. Can you see how your childhood role might still be running your adult life? Now imagine looking back at your childhood not as a collection of memories, but as a series of emotional emergencies. Every time something felt too heavy, too confusing, or too painful, your psyche created a role to protect you. That role glued itself to your identity and whispered, "This is who you need to be to stay safe." The quiet child becomes the quiet adult. The helper becomes the one who can never say no. The good child becomes the person who never allows themselves to make a mistake. Fascinating, isn't it, how survival strategies become lifelong habits? Jung believed that this is where many people get stuck. They are not actually living as themselves, but as adaptations to wounds they have never examined. The personality becomes a mask, a psychological costume worn long after the danger has passed. So ask yourself, are you still living as the child who needed to be perfect? Are you still trying to earn love that was never freely given? Are you still wearing a mask that once protected you, even though it now suffocates you? In everyday life, this shows up everywhere. You overcompensate at work because being good enough never felt safe. You attract emotionally unavailable people because love always felt distant. You apologize constantly because you were taught that you took up too much space. And without realizing it, the wound you never healed becomes the map that guides every decision, every fear, every relationship. The world calls it personality, but inside it feels more like a prison. Here is the powerful truth Jung invites us to consider. What if your personality was never meant to be permanent? What if it was simply the shield you needed until you were strong enough to outgrow it? Beneath the roles, beneath the masks, beneath the patterns, there is still a self you have not met yet. a self that existed before the wound, a self that did not have to earn love, prove worth, or hide softness to stay safe. So let me ask you something. Who would you be today if the wound never happened? And what would it mean to finally meet the person you were supposed to become before life demanded a survival strategy? Leave a comment and share which childhood role you think shaped your adult identity. Have you ever wondered why certain triggers hit you so deeply, even when you tell yourself to stay calm? Why can one offhand comment from someone you love make you spiral into shame, anger, or unworthiness, almost like a child suddenly reappears inside you? This isn't just sensitivity. It's a memory, a wound. A part of you is still trying to speak, and more often than not, it's your shadow. In real life, many of us learn at a very young age that parts of us are too much for the world. Maybe you were the child who felt deeply, cried easily, asked for attention, or dreamed big. But instead of being met with warmth, you were told you were too sensitive, too needy, too dramatic, or too loud. Maybe your laughter was silenced, your anger punished, or your curiosity ignored. And so, to avoid being abandoned, embarrassed, or rejected, you buried those pieces of yourself deep in the psyche. But buried does not mean gone. Carl Jung called this the beginning of the shadow, the moment we exile parts of our authentic self because the world told us they were unlovable. The shadow is not evil. It is not bad. It is made up of your original innocence, your honest emotions, your natural intensity, your real reactions. All the things you were told to quiet down, fix, or hide to stay safe. And the moment you learned you were not enough, you did what every child does to survive. You split. You created a version of yourself that was acceptable, and you pushed the rest into the dark. But what happens to that exiled energy? It doesn't disappear. It becomes the part of you that overreacts, sabotages, or collapses under pressure. It becomes the part of you that can't take a compliment, that always doubts your worth, that chases unavailable love, that shuts down when things get too close. That's the shadow talking. It's the soft part of you, banging on the walls from the inside, begging to be seen, not judged, not fixed, but acknowledged. And here's the twist. The people you attract in your adult life often mirror the exact emotional wound that birthed your shadow. If your joy was punished, you may now fear being too much. If your needs were rejected, you may now settle for breadcrumbs. If your anger is unsafe, you may now swallow it until it turns into depression. These patterns are not random. They are your psyche trying to resolve unfinished business. They are your shadow trying to come home. So let me ask you this. Which part of yourself did you bury just to be loved? What emotion did you learn was not safe to show? And how has that early decision shaped your adult life, your relationships, your self-talk? Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." What if the reason you keep ending up in the same kind of pain is that a younger version of you is still waiting to be rescued? If this resonates, leave a comment and name the part of yourself you were once told was too much. Your shame is not a flaw, it's a breadcrumb leading back to the moment your shadow was born. And healing begins when you stop running from it and start listening. Have you ever woken up from a dream that felt more real than your waking life? One that left your heart racing, your body tense, or your spirit unsettled? Why do certain dreams return again and again, always with the same strange rooms, forgotten houses, lost shoes, or people from your past? You brush them off as weird, but what if these dreams are not just dreams? What if they're messages from the part of you that never got to speak? In real life, we are taught to ignore dreams, to see them as nonsense, random firings of the brain, or stories too bizarre to matter. But Carl Jung disagreed entirely. To him, dreams were the sacred whispers of the unconscious. He believed they were symbolic messages from the deepest layers of our psyche, carrying truths that our waking minds are too defended to hear. Most importantly, Jung believed that dreams often speak in the voice of the child we once were, the child who still lives inside, waiting for someone to listen. Think about it. Why do so many dreams happen in childhood homes, at schools, or with younger versions of yourself? Why do so many people dream of locked doors, unfinished conversations, or running without escape? These symbols aren't arbitrary, they're archetypal. The house, in Jungian terms, often represents the self. Rooms are aspects of the psyche. A locked door may symbolize a repressed memory. A school may reflect where you first learned shame. When these symbols appear, your dream isn't trying to confuse you, it's trying to guide you. Recurring dreams, especially the ones that bring up anxiety or helplessness, are not punishments. They're invitations. They are your childhood's way of pulling you back towards something unresolved, something you couldn't face back then, but maybe, just maybe, you're ready to face now. And the emotions you feel in those dreams are the same emotions your inner child once had no words for. In dreams, the silence of the past finally finds a voice. Imagine this. A woman keeps dreaming of walking through her childhood home, only to find that one room is always locked. She wakes frustrated and confused, but when she begins to journal the dream and explore the symbol, she realizes that this was the room her father used to sit in alone, a place where she felt unwelcome, unseen, and suddenly, the dream is no longer strange. It's precise. It's a map. It's her unconscious telling her that her sense of emotional exclusion still lives there. What about you? What dream keeps repeating itself in your life? What image haunts you? Who keeps showing up, begging to be heard, seen, acknowledged? Have you asked what they want to tell you? Jung once said, "The dream is the small hidden door in the deepest and most intimate sanctum of the soul." If that's true, then every time you wake up with a knot in your stomach or a tear on your cheek, your soul is knocking, and your childhood is whispering through the walls. So, don't dismiss your dreams. Don't brush away the symbols. Write them down. Speak them out loud. Ask them what they need. Because what you're dreaming of might not be random at all. It might be the child in you who is finally ready to be remembered. What is your dream trying to say? Leave a comment and name the one dream that never leaves you. Healing begins the moment we stop running from the messages we once had to forget. What if the version of you that feels stuck today isn't broken, but is still waiting to be seen? So many people carry a quiet ache inside, a feeling that something within them was damaged too early and repaired too quickly with the wrong tools. Maybe your childhood taught you to survive, but not to feel. Maybe it taught you to smile through confusion, to stay silent during chaos, or to act strong when you were anything but. Those lessons may have helped you then, but now, as an adult, they leave you disconnected from your truth. You know how to function, to please, to produce, but not how to truly be. And as you look back, you might ask, can I ever become someone different without rewriting the past? Carl Jung believed that the answer lies not in erasing the past, but in transforming the relationship we have with it. He taught that healing does not come from forgetting what happened, but from understanding what it did to our inner world. The past does not disappear, but its meaning can change. That is the miracle of inner work. When you return to your own story not with shame, but with compassion, something sacred happens. You begin to rewrite the emotional contracts you made as a child, the vow to never need anyone, the decision to never speak your truth, the belief that you are only lovable when perfect. These were survival codes, not soul truths. Through practices like active imagination, inner child journaling, somatic awareness, and dream work, you meet the child within you not as a weakness to overcome, but as a guide you abandoned. You begin to see that beneath your adult exhaustion is a younger self still waiting for permission to rest. Beneath your perfectionism is a little one who just wanted to be safe. Beneath your people-pleasing is a tender spirit who feared abandonment. This shift is not easy. It asks you to grieve the love you didn't get, the safety you pretended to feel, and the self you were never allowed to become. But in that grieving, you reclaim your life. Jung called this the process of individuation, the return to wholeness through conscious integration of all that was lost, hidden, or exiled. It is not about becoming someone new, but about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. And in that remembering, your old story softens. I was too much becomes I was expressive. I was too needy becomes I longed for connection. The shame that once defined your identity becomes a doorway to a deeper truth. You realize that you were never broken. You had never met. So here is the deeper question. If healing is not about changing what happened, but about changing who you are in relation to it, then who might you become if you stopped running from your story and began holding it with both hands? What if your most painful memory is the soil where your strongest self has been waiting to grow? Let the past stay where it is, but let the future be rewritten by the person who is finally ready to come home to themselves. Have you ever wondered why some wounds still echo in your present, even when the people who caused them are no longer around? It's because your inner world remembers what your outer world has forgotten. The child you once were doesn't just live in the past. They live in your tone when you feel small, in the panic when you're misunderstood, in the silence you retreat into when love feels too far away. These fragments of the self do not disappear with age. They wait. And they keep waiting until you are brave enough to turn inward and say, I see you now. I'm not leaving this time. Carl Jung believed that the process of becoming whole, individuation, requires us to return to the places within that remain incomplete. This doesn't mean reliving your pain, but re-seeing it with the eyes of compassion. When you revisit your memories not to judge or analyze, but to listen, you begin to shift the way they live inside you. A moment of neglect becomes a moment to hold. A memory of abandonment becomes a chance to reparent yourself. Slowly, the past loses its sharpness, not because it's gone, but because it's been met with the presence it always needed. Healing your childhood is not about getting stuck in your story. It's about completing it. Every time you choose to feel instead of avoid, speak instead of suppress, or comfort instead of criticize, you are changing the entire atmosphere inside you. You become a safer place, not only for yourself, but for everyone who comes close to you. The person who once had to earn love can now give it freely. The version of you that was afraid to set boundaries now honors them like sacred doors. The adult you are becoming carries the strength of every younger self who finally feels heard. This kind of healing doesn't just change your life, it reshapes your legacy. The way you show up in your relationships begins to shift. You become less reactive and more reflective. You catch yourself in old patterns, not to shame them, but to understand them. You begin to raise your children differently, to love your partner with more empathy, to stop handing your worth to people who cannot hold it. What once felt like fate becomes choice. What once felt like a curse becomes clarity. You are no longer just reacting to your pain. You are responding from your wholeness. The most beautiful part? You are not just saving yourself. You are saving every version of you that still lives inside. The timid child, the angry teenager, the over-functioning adult. All of them begin to exhale, and with every breath, a new truth forms. You are no longer lost in the story. You are the one writing it now. So let me ask you, what would it feel like to stop abandoning the younger you who still waits for love? What would it mean to become the person they always needed and finally offer them the safety no one else could? Because when you do, everything changes. The past softens, the present opens, and the future begins to feel like home. If this touched something sacred inside you, don't let it fade into silence. Like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your presence here is not just support, it's resonance. And if you feel moved to give back, your donation becomes a quiet but powerful gesture that helps keep this light alive for others still walking in the dark.